Welcome to the Sales Leader of Influence show. For sales leaders who lead with soul, spirit, and spine. In a world obsessed with tactics, this is the show for those who know leadership is personal. And here's your host, Bernadette McClellan.
Of influence. Sometimes your back really is against the wall and technical hiccups happen. So here is a welcome today to the first day of snow here in Colorado. And I have just come back from a coffee conversation with a friend of mine who I think is an absolute great, reminder of how we can cope when our back is really against the wall. I'm going to have him on the show next year. He has been not just had his back against the wall, but he has actually been behind the wall, has been incarcerated for a number of years and has been released 18 months ago, 2 years ago, after being proven innocent. And I want to bring Jason onto the show. I think you're going to have an amazing experience listening to the two of us have a conversation and really relate it into leadership. So let's have a look at today's theme, which really is how do real leaders lead when their back is against the wall? So my question, first and foremost, is there really a wall? And secondly is, if you believe your back is against the wall, then what wall are you leaning against? So when we hear that metaphor, that our back is against the wall, it conjures up a number of different meanings for different people. Ultimately, though, it's this feeling that we have where we do not have control, we do not have options. We may feel that we're stuck, we may feel that we've been painted into a corner, we may feel that we've got absolutely nobody to speak with or to bounce ideas off or whatever it may be. But it's this feeling basically that we have no options. And I want to, give a couple of examples, because today there are people out there, some of you listening, some of you watching, that really do feel that you've got no options, that perhaps you're out of a job, perhaps you are really under the pump, you're not making your numbers. Perhaps you are looking at strategies within the business where you're thinking, well, whose responsibility is that? Is it that function? Is it that function within the business? Is it that person? Is it that department? And ultimately, maybe it's you that's got to make the decision. And so there's all these different examples. There's so many, scenarios out there, because there is so many different people that are involved. We all have these experiences where we feel this way. And I guess that there are two responses that human beings tend to default to. And one of those is that we will react. So some of you will be, urgency driven, really fast at making decisions, perhaps really emotional at making decisions. Then there's a spectrum within that reaction. Then there's others who go more withdrawn and who are a little bit more on the quieter side, maybe go into micro managing or maybe just micro controlling. And once again, there is this continuum or the spectrum within that group of people as well, where some people absolutely do nothing. And so if you think about from a human behavioral perspective in a leadership role, because you have teams who are looking to you. And so when you feel that the pressure's on, when you feel that your back is against the wall, where do you default to? Are you somebody who is like an ultra reactor, or are you somebody who is a little bit more reserved and going withdrawn, like you withdraw? However your response is, your team are watching. And your team, they are also picking up on your energy, and that is impacting them. It's exactly the same as being parents. Our kids pick up, people around us pick up. And so what happens when we are under pressure is we will rubber band back, and we will rubber band back to our path of least resistance, which ultimately is the old version of us. So no matter what amount of work you might have done on yourself in your leadership role, we will revert back and rubber band back. Why this is because it is a feeling of certainty. It's a feeling of safeness. And so I want us to think for a moment about the word control, because we have grown up and we have been, conditioned to live in a world where we have experienced people, adults, as when we're kids, peers, perhaps teachers, where control is a really big part of what we are viewing and experiencing. And so this whole put your hand up to go to the bathroom, asking for permission all the time, being told what to do, what not to do, what to eat, what not to eat, all of this is based on control. And we see control as a way of being. And so what happens is when we feel a little back against the wall, a little bit of stress, what is it really? It really is us feeling out of control. And so if you understand that control, when you lose control, you actually feel like you're losing. And so going back, this whole feeling of a lack of control, losing, is survival. And so we cannot separate the word control and survival. So when you are in this environment where perhaps you're not making the numbers, perhaps ELT are on your back, perhaps you've got shareholders that are saying, where are the results? Where are the results? All of this is you in losing control. And so what is it that you may need to do when you feel that your back is against the wall? So if you're a leader and you haven't got a contingency plan, you haven't plotted out what happens if someone leaves, what's our plan for that? What happens if we don't make our numbers next month? What is our strategy for that? So having all of this planning in place is a part of leadership. And so let's just say that that's a given. You understand that, and yet you are still feeling this feeling of your back being against the wall. So, and interestingly enough, I was reading today, and I'm just going to read this out because I've got the statistics here. When it comes to sales leadership, 55% of chief sales officers, so that's over half, 55%, are saying that they are witnessing that their sales managers are not meeting expectations. So that is a heck of a lot of pressure that is coming down the pike for sales managers. But 58%, not but, and 58% of you sales leaders are saying that you are struggling. So how do we help you to move forward when you are feeling this way? And outside of just the typical, well, maybe it's time you put your hand up and ask for help. Maybe you need to start to use your voice a little. Maybe you need to start to delegate. Maybe you need to start making decisions. And so I don't want to leave it there. I actually want to take it down a path to kind of have you think a little bit differently. So a number of years ago, one of my mentors at the time, she had made a comment. She said, when my back is against the wall, the best of me comes out. And I never really kind of took much notice of that. She was very much into I guess, really working hard and hustle and putting all this effort in and really kind of going for the jugular. That's kind of how I thought it meant. However, what I now realize is that real leaders, what they do is they do a couple of things differently than most people. And I want to share what those things are. Number one, they call BS on themselves. So I really want you to sit with that for a moment. They call BS on themselves. So what do I mean by that? We can stand there with our backs against the wall and we can feel, and which is what we do, we feel. And all the different emotions will come through, stress, you name it, anger, whatever it may be, withdrawal. And I want you to think about doing something a little bit differently. I want you to think third person for a moment. And I want you to observe yourself, because this is what real leaders do. They have the ability to actually stand back and observe themselves and to, hand on heart, call BS. Because at the end of the day, we all have a choice. You are in your role today because you made the choice to be in that role. So we always have options. Even though we may feel we don't, we always have options. And when I was working for Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins, there is one nugget, for want of a better word, or one formula that he had, which really struck with me. And that is that our expectations, when our expectations equal our situation that we're in today, then we are happy. When our situation that we are in today does not meet our expectations, then that makes us feel trapped. And so the choice that we have is that we can choose to change one of those two things. So you can choose to change your current situation. It may be hard, or you can choose to change your expectations. And so if you are in a role at the moment where you are finding it really, really difficult and you can't leave that role for obvious reasons, but you really want to, then how can you shift your expectations to make it easier for you and more palatable for you? So here's what I want to share with you. Number one is to actually call BS and observe yourself from that perspective. Number two is to look for the resistance. The resistance is where the work has to be done, because somewhere in there you will be resisting something. Now that resistance may be saying no, that resistance may be looking elsewhere, that resistance may be asking for help, that resistance may be making tough decisions, that resistance may be holding somebody accountable. So you have to actually look for the resistance. And that's where the work needs to be done. Now, only you can do that. A book's not going to help you do that. How-to guides aren't going to help you to do that. Only you can do that. And once you identify where your resistance is, then it's a case of giving yourself permission to go to another level. And going to another level is like wearing a new pair of shoes in. They're going to hurt you to start with. You're going to get blisters to start with. It's going to be very, very uncomfortable. But that is the growth. That's what your people need. That's what your business needs. Now, you might be saying to me, well, yeah, Bernadette, that sounds all great. and I understand it, but I'm in a situation where I am stuck. I get it. I get it. And I've shared our story with many people over the years. Being bankrupt as a single mum with a mortgage at 18.5%, I get what it means to be stuck. But there is always an option. And so inside that circumstance or inside that situation that you are in, I want you to shift your language to start with, to not have it be a problem, but to have it be a situation, because that takes it from being emotional to being logical. And what you can do there is you can actually move forward because you are now in a position to actually build momentum. And so this is what we want to do. We want to be able to elevate you to the next level of leadership. And you can only do that by tapping in to a new version of you. So I wanted to share that with you today. When your back is against the wall, you do have options, but you have to start by being open and honest with yourself, observing yourself, looking for the resistance, and then giving yourself permission to become. And it's to become and do, you've got to actually take action. And the quicker you can do that, the more momentum builds. And that creates an energy all unto itself. And so I'm at that point now. I'm at that point now where I'm in between producers for my LinkedIn Live and my show. And I'm just about to bring somebody new on. And in the meantime, I'm having to look at the resistance and the resistance for next year as well, because I have some wonderful ideas for next year. But I'm also looking at the resistance and giving myself permission to play a bigger game. And so that's what I want to share with you today as we kind of come out of 2025, coming into the end of the year now and starting the new year. Don't wait till January to start thinking about these kind of things. Start right now. And I hope that today has kind of helped you with your thoughts a little bit that way. So if you want to speak to me, I'm always available. I would love to have a conversation with you if you are a sales leader and you have a sales team, you want to kick off the new year with perhaps some fresh thinking for the team. Definitely open to running a diagnostic for you. I have a great diagnostic that can help you there with the team to kind of identify some gaps as well as with you and your leadership. So have an amazing week, and I'll see you next week, because next week will be the final show for the year. And in the meantime, we'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.